And right now, 5 o'clock, we have several developing stories to get through.
We've learned that most of the people who died in a Texas church shooting were children. Why officers believe the shooter targeted this church in particular, killing 26 parishioners during his rampage.
And also tonight, IMPD's chief recommends 2 of his officers be fired following the Aaron Bailey shooting. We'll tell you who's responsible for making that final decision.
Plus, the National Weather Service is confirming several Indiana tornadoes after a wild night of November storms.
It just was a boom, and that was the end of it, you know?
Taking a tour of the damage and talking to those who narrowly escaped.
From Indiana's news leader, Eyewitness News at 5 o'clock starts now.
And we begin tonight with this story. They were cleared of criminal charges, but IMPD's chief wants the 2 officers who shot and killed Aaron Bailey fired from the police force.
Now, this is the story we have been covering since this past June, when 2 officers shot Bailey after a small chase. And just last week alone, a special prosecutor decided to not file any charges against those 2 officers.
Our crime bureau reporter Steve Jefferson broke the news about the chief's decision on Twitter, and he joins us now with a look at what happens next. Steve?
Yeah, John and Andrea, this is by no means a cut and dry situation. The fate of the officers' jobs will go into the hands of a 7-member merit board, and they will take the chief's recommendation for termination into consideration. But first, the merit board here at the City County building needs to fill a vacant seat before they do anything. The jobs of the 2 Metro police officers responsible for the shooting death of Aaron Bailey will be left up to the merit board. Their boss, Police Chief Brian Roach, wants them terminated off the department for good. His decision comes after an internal investigation into the shooting. In June of this year, Bailey fled during a traffic stop. After crashing into a tree with a passenger in the front seat, officers Carlton Howard and Michael Denson shot and killed Bailey, saying they feared for their lives because of Bailey's movements in the car. A special prosecutor cleared the officers of any wrongdoing after his own investigation.
Ultimately, it will be my decision.
But Chief Roach says after their administrative investigation, he agrees with the Firearms Review Board that the officers' actions violated IMPD training and policy.
Black lives, they matter here. Black lives, they matter here.
The group Don't Sleep has campaigned for the officers being fired since the shooting and will now likely focus their message to the merit board. Chief Roach will officially recommend termination to that 7-member board made up of different appointments. But first, some city council members hope to fill the vacant merit board seat right away with Pastor Ronald Covington Sr. from Friendship Baptist Church. And then the merit board will have the final say-so if Howard and Denson should lose their jobs for the shooting death of Bailey. Officers Howard and Denson have been on paid administrative leave since the shooting, but as of today, they have now been suspended by the police chief without pay. The merit board is scheduled to meet as early as tomorrow. If the council fills that vacancy on the merit board tonight here at the City County building, they will begin their work on the Howard Denson case right away. Back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Steve Jefferson, reporting tonight.
And you can actually read all of the documents pertaining to Bailey's case right now on WTHR.com/Bailey. There you will find the prosecutor's report on his decision to not file any charges and the review board's findings about the officer's behavior.
We've had a long night with our children and grandbabies that we have left.
And tonight, a father and a pastor are grieving with the loss of his daughter and 25 more members of his church family in Sutherland Springs, Texas. In fact, more than half of those killed were children. And tonight, we're getting a clearer picture of what may have led up to that gunman opening fire.
Our Scott Swan is here with what police are now revealing and how a small town is grappling with those lives lost. Scott?
Yeah, John, people at that church knew the shooter. This is a town of about 700. The church itself only holds about 100 people. So for those inside that church yesterday, there was simply nowhere to run. Police say 26-year-old Devin Kelly had sent his mother-in-law threatening text messages before the shooting yesterday. His mother-in-law attends that church, but she wasn't there yesterday when he opened fire. Witnesses say he circled the small church, firing with an assault-style rifle before walking in and firing a barrage of bullets. When it was all over, 26 people were dead, the oldest 77, the youngest just 18 months old. A pregnant mom and her 3 kids were among those killed. A neighbor saw what was happening yesterday and opened fire on Kelly. That same neighbor then chased after Kelly's Ford Expedition, speeds hitting 95 miles per hour, before investigators believe the gunman shot himself.
Now most of our church family is gone. Our building is probably beyond repair. And the few of us that are left behind lost tragically yesterday. As senseless as this tragedy was, our sweet Belle would not have been able to deal with losing so much family yesterday.
Kelly, a former Air Force member, had been court-martialed in 2012. He was sentenced to a year in military prison for assaulting his wife and child. Kelly wasn't supposed to have access to a gun, but according to the governor of Texas, Kelly still bought 4 guns over the past 4 years. That's something investigators are still looking into right now. Andrea?
All right, Scott, thank you so much. Meanwhile, 2 of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history happened within the last 35 days. The Las Vegas concert shooting was just a little more than a month ago, back on October 1st, where 58 people there died. The Pulse nightclub shooting was in 2016, when 49 people were killed there. And 32 people died when a man opened fire on Virginia Tech's campus back in 2007. And in 2012, a man killed 27 people inside of Sandy Hook Elementary. Most were children. And yesterday, 26 people lost their lives at the First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs, Texas. And NBC's Lester Holt will anchor team coverage tonight on Nightly News from Sutherland Springs, Texas. The team is retracing the timeline of the shooting, sharing eyewitness accounts, as well as learning more information about the victims who were killed in the attack. And back here at home tonight, developing this afternoon, a woman is now in the hospital after her car is hit by a train. This all happened in the Edinburgh area on the train tracks on State Road 252. That's right near I-65 and US 31. Now, it's unclear what caused that crash to take place, but we're still waiting for information about that woman's condition. We'll keep you updated.
And the light of day revealed the extent of damage caused by strong storms last night. We've seen roofs torn off buildings, debris scattered around, and trees uprooted. And Angela Buckman is here right now, and so far the National Weather Service is confirming several tornadoes.
Yes, so far 6, and we say so far because the National Weather Service right now has a survey team in the northern sections of Hamilton County, so we may see this climb. But for now, the total stands at 6. Hard hit was our northeastern viewing area, and the strongest was a preliminary EF2 that touched down in the northeastern sections of Delaware County, just northeast of Eaton. This continued into Blackford and Jay counties. EF2 with a peak wind at 134 miles per hour. It traveled 39 miles and it was on the ground for over an hour, actually crossing the state line before it came to an end across the western sections of Ohio. A brief EF1 in Muncie. Also, Muncie had widespread straight line wind damage, estimated 80 to 90 miles per hour. In our southern viewing area, a preliminary EF1 in Springville, and that's in Lawrence County. And then across the southern part of the state, John, 3 reported in Washington County. So 6 is where we stand so far. We'll keep you posted on if that number changes.
All right, thanks, Angela. We want to show you some of the damage across the state. Kevin Rader begins our team coverage tonight in Jay County, where a home was literally lifted off its foundation.
This is the type of damage that we're seeing here in Jay County. Extensive. This house destroyed, as you can see, just by getting one look at it. It's hard to imagine when you realize what really happened. That house was lifted off its foundation, and when it was, there was one person in this house sitting on that couch. Carl Mullenkamp could not believe it. His house was literally picked up from its foundation and set over here, as his son Austin was sitting right here when it happened.
So he went down the basement. He didn't think it was no big deal. He just kind of laid around on the couch until the house started shifting and the wind came. And
the family dog alerted him to the tornado before it hit, so Austin, his son, went to the west wall of the basement as the house lifted off the foundation that surrounded him.
Yeah, I don't know what it did. If it just slid, or if it did raise a little bit and to move it that much, I don't know.
Afterward, Austin scampered up the wall and got out of the house to call his parents.
And he said our house is destroyed, but I'm okay. And
everyone always says go to the basement, but even Carl admits you don't always do it.
Well, even I don't go to the basement. My wife tells me to go to the basement. You know, if you hear some storms are coming.
For now, he's just thankful that his son is alive to tell about it and that none of his neighbors were hurt as well.
So I think we're lucky that it didn't happen after, later in the evening. Everybody's home.
Coming up on Eyewitness News at 6, you'll hear from Austin, the one who was sitting in that couch, and hear his harrowing story of survival. In Jay County, Kevin Rader, Channel 13, Eyewitness News.
Yeah, survival indeed. Thank you so much, Kevin. And we're also tonight seeing a lot of damage in Delaware County. Our Mary Mills shows us tonight what happened there at the Muncie Fieldhouse.
Andrea, just walking by, actually, you wouldn't know that anything happened. That's until you see the tape surrounding the building there, the no trespassing signs, you see the guys putting up fences. And then when you look up and you see all those missing bricks, and as you'll see in a moment, the damage inside is bad. Bad enough that the Christmas program's been canceled and all athletic events moved to the middle school. Drone Cam 13 flew over the field house where you can see brick facade over the west entrance blown off the roof, creating a gaping hole. That hole broke the sprinklers with water cascading into the historic gymnasium, with several inches covering the hardwood floors. Pictures show the caved-in bricks, partially collapsed ceiling, as well as damage to other parts of the field house. It's believed the field house was hit by the same EF1 tornado that damaged several nearby homes in the so-called McKinley area.
It was kind of eerie. You could tell, it wasn't a normal kind of rain.
Kerry Fritz arrived home shortly after the tornado struck. Seeing all the debris, he says he barely recognized his house.
I thought that was our house that was tore down, but it was the roof across the street. So when I pulled up, I thought, well, nobody could have survived that. But our house didn't collapse. It just looked that way when we pulled up.
And coming up at 6, we're going to hear from his neighbor, the man across the street who was home when his roof blew off and his garage was demolished in that tornado. Back here at the Muncie Fieldhouse, they're not sure of the damage, but we are told it will likely be several $1 million. Do want to point out, too, that this is a big part of Muncie history. John and Andrea, this was built in 1928. It's gone through several renovations, so I'm sure people in the community will want to see this fixed and restored.
All right, a story we will continue to follow. Mary Mills reporting live tonight. Thank you.
Well, coming up, we have some breaking news, really quite astounding news on the most watched shoulder in Indianapolis that could spell trouble tonight for the Indianapolis Colts.
Coming up next tonight, we're going to tell you why former coach Tony Dungy says that Jim Irsay believes Andrew Luck's problem could be as much mental as it is physical. We'll explain coming up next.
So what is wrong with Colts quarterback Andrew Luck? What are the issues after his surgery keeping him off the field?
Are you ready for this one? Former coach Tony Dungy says Colts owner Jim Irsay has his own idea.
Oh, this is hot. Dave Calabro is at the Colts complex tonight. And Dave, where's all this coming from?
Yikes.
Well, Tony Dungy was on the Dan Patrick Show this afternoon during a cut-in on simulcast. Listen to what he had to say during a commercial break.
The Andrew Luck situation, though. I don't know what's going on there. I really don't. And is he going to play? Jim Irsay made a comment about 6 weeks ago. It's inside his head now, and then now you're hearing that this has been 25 months.
Wait, it's inside Luck's head?
Yeah, he said that. I guess when I was up there for Peyton's ceremony.
Wow. I wonder if Andrew Luck's future is in Indianapolis. I really do. I wonder.
Bob Kravitz joins me live. Bob, your reaction to hearing what was said today?
It's shocking, but not totally surprising in a way. Jim Irsay has dropped some hints before when he talked about the 4 inches between Andrew Luck's ears.
Yeah.
But when he said those things, I thought, well, he's talking about the mental hurdle of getting over a major surgery. But here, he apparently told Tony Dungy flat out, it's in the kid's head, and it's not about his arm, which is very disturbing.
We haven't heard this yet. I mean, we heard him talk about this early on, but it was just a mental hurdle to get over. But this is shocking.
It really is. I mean, we're talking about the owner of a franchise, talking about his franchise quarterback, a generational quarterback, they hope, and suggesting that he's just not mentally getting over this thing, that it's not just a physical thing.
No reaction from the Colts just yet. Back to you guys in the studio, and read Bob at WTHR.com. Another soap opera with this Colts team.
Got you.
All right, thank you, Dave Calabro and Bob Kravitz, the Colts complex.
Wow, it's going to be a lot of conversation about that.
I'll tell you.
As the days of our lives.
All right. As the world turns.
And the world turns.
As the horseshoe turns.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
my goodness.
Write that down.
Oh, there you go. I like that. I like that. Weather-wise, what a weekend. What a doozy.
Weekend. It was so warm, so humid. You just kind of knew something was going to happen. And we had talked about it for days leading up to yesterday's severe weather. At this point, 6 tornadoes confirmed. That's still preliminary. And that total may, in fact, go up. Dry today, but much colder behind that powerful weather system. 49 right now. Winds are northeast at 9 miles per hour. It's breezy and obviously much colder from yesterday when high temperatures were near 70 degrees. We're down 17 in Indianapolis. It's 18 colder in Richmond from 24 hours ago. We're down 14 in Lebanon. And as the cleanup continues in Muncie and across our northeastern viewing area, it is much colder than this time yesterday. And it will be chilly this evening. Out and about, for the most part, dry. We are tracking a chance for some showers developing later this evening. With increasing clouds, temperatures will be nearly steady in the mid-40s at 11 p.m. 44. Early on Tuesday, there will be some showers around, so perhaps a few wet roads for the Tuesday morning drive. It will be rain and not snow with early morning temperatures near 40. Clouds are already on the increase, and we're starting to notice a few showers developing down to our south and west. This is over the last several hours, starting to see a few sprinkles across southwest Indiana. We're forecasting that to pick up in coverage over the next few hours. This is 7 o'clock this evening with Future Track 13. We'll stop it at 11 p.m. Perhaps some light rain nearing Terre Haute, Spencer, Bloomington, and Bedford. This will continue to work its way north. Now, the best chance for steady rain during the early half of Tuesday will be across the southern half of the state. This is tomorrow at 3 a.m. We'll stop this during the morning drive. And again, a pretty good chance that we have some wet roads Tuesday morning. Scattered showers will continue off and on through at least midday. Clouds in the forecast, a few showers on Tuesday, and temperatures will be cool. Showers, grab the umbrella early tomorrow, 43 at 9 a.m. A 1 p.m. temperature with still a few showers around, 47. Temperatures will only make the upper 40s to around 50 tomorrow afternoon. May see a few peaks of sunshine late in the day, and we do have some sunshine on the way for the middle part of the week. In fact, lots of it. Clouds and showers, you'll need the umbrella tomorrow, upper 40s to around 50. Lots of sunshine on Wednesday. We'll forecast 47. We'll be in the upper 40s, breezy, but still some sunshine Thursday. Just downright cold on Friday. Friday will start the day in the 20s, mid-20s, and only forecast a high of 38. Another weather system to track next weekend. Temperatures will be in the low 40s, so we're not forecasting severe weather next weekend, but may have some rain mixing with some snow. Now, yesterday's severe weather, our team coverage of that continues at 5:30, and we do get tornadoes in November, but it doesn't happen very often. Sean will have more on that at 5:30.
All right, Angela, thanks so much.
We also have a scam alert for you tonight, the new twist that thieves are putting on an old scam.
But first tonight at 5 o'clock and next at 5:30, U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions makes a stop here in Indianapolis. Next, why his visit with the 10-Point Coalition was met with a lot of criticism. We'll be right back.
I'm Crime Beat reporter Steve Jefferson. You can help make our neighborhoods safer by turning in tonight's Crime Stopper suspect. Police are on the lookout for Jason Skinner. Skinner is wanted for unlawful possession of a firearm. If you know his whereabouts, call the Crime Stoppers hotline. The hotline's open 24/7. The telephone number is 317-262-TIPS. You can check out who else is wanted by police right now at WTA.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions spent the afternoon here in Indianapolis talking about battling neighborhood violence.
Our own Rich Van Wyk was there today. And Rich, what is it about the 10-Point Coalition that has Washington, D.C. so very interested?
Today's meeting at this inner-city church was part pep talk, part praise, part reality check on the nation's war on neighborhood crime. Money didn't come up. Participants, though, tell me they left with the impression, the feeling that the 10-Point Coalition and other faith-based groups will be part of any solution. The U.S. Attorney General came into the meeting today greeting every one of the participants. It was clear that he knew or was at least familiar with several of them. He painted a bleak picture, a homicide rate up 20% in 2 years, a 61% increase in police officers killed in the line of duty. But here in Indianapolis, an 85% decrease in homicides in neighborhoods where the 10-Point Coalition is working. Sessions says it could be a model for other cities across the country.
I just know that we can do this. So we will not concede a single block or a single street corner in the United States to lawlessness and crime. It's not moral to do so. Today I'm announcing a Violent Crime Reduction Coordinating Committee to effectively coordinate these efforts across the entire Department of Justice and ensure that we're doing our best every day to support your efforts.
Sessions and the group walked the neighborhood and kept talking. In 2 weeks, 10-Point Coalition leader here in Indianapolis, Pastor Charles Harrison, will be in Washington for more discussions with the Department of Justice. What does he want? Well, we'll talk to him about that at 6 o'clock. We'll also talk about why some people protested this meeting. Again, that's up at 6 o'clock.
All right, thank you. Rich Van Wyk reporting from downtown tonight.
And speaking of that protest, in fact, this morning we heard from several members of the community denouncing that visit. In fact, more than a dozen ministers, including members of the concerned clergy, they gathered to make a statement. Now, they call the Attorney General's civil rights record appalling as well as offensive.
Let's exhaust all resources that we have at our immediate disposal before we reach to create a nexus with a person like Jeff Sessions, which we believe makes restless the fathers of the civil rights movement who gave so much. The outcome with that nexus does not justify the means.
And the group also says there's no solid proof that the 10-Point Coalition strategy really works.
President Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, and his associate, Rick Gates, were both back in court today. A judge ruled the two must stay under house arrest for now. They're facing charges stemming from the investigation into Russia's meddling in the U.S. election. Though the charges they are now facing are not related to their roles in the president's campaign. Well, we are hearing more horrifying eyewitness accounts of a mass shooting inside a Texas church.
A woman who runs a store right across the street explains what she saw after the shooter opened fire.
Also tonight at 5:30, a terrifying story of survival from last night's storms.
Barn fell and me and him were trapped.
What saved the lives of a family in Jay County when a barn collapsed, trapping them inside?